Welcome to the Sexy Side of Menopause.
So ladies, I have a special edition of the Sexy Side of Menopause. I'm Beverly with Beverly Hills Health and Wellness Coaching. My podcast is the Sexy Side of Menopause, where we talk about the menopause journey and the phenomenal things that women are doing during this journey. I have been a health and wellness coach since 2017, and I've had conversations with women regarding their health, their lifestyles, their dreams, their goals, aspirations. There's so much that has been in the space of this conversation around the menopause journey. And one of the other things that keeps coming up that I feel like I would love to lean into, and I met a person that's becoming like my BFF, and she has a like-minded mindset around this. My new friend is Alise Bronson. I met her in a community where we talk about Expat life, investing in things that will give us income during this second stage of our lives, and opening up to the possibilities of what can happen for you. If you get in the right community and you get into spaces where people are having conversations at the next level, it opens your mind up to thinking like, hey, I can see myself in that conversation, or that's a possibility I never even thought of. So what I'm going to do is throw it over to my new friend, Alise Bronson. Let her introduce herself. And this is going to be, hopefully, based on scheduling, something that we bring to you every month around the conversation of expat living. So Alise, welcome. So grateful to have you here. I know, girl, you are burning the candle at both ends. I got spinning plates all over the place, but we made it happen. Welcome.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much for Beverly. I so appreciate you just inviting me to be on this platform with you. It is such an honor and a privilege to be able to just share. I thought it was ideal. I think it's a great opening door for women that are thinking about, or either are doing that second stage of life. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I am so honored. Thank you.
Yes, so grateful. So let's talk a little bit about our backgrounds. I mean, we don't have to go down there. We just a big, broad picture. So I am retired. I am a woman looking to live her best life. I had been trying to decide where it is that I wanted to land with this stage of my life. I had been traveling around the world as a military spouse for many, many decades. Actually been traveling 40 years of my life. When I looked back on it, 40 years of my life. There's these memes that come out from time to time, and they talk about like, have you been to like 3 or 4 of these countries? And they have a list of 20. And I'm literally one of these people that I would check off on a map where I had traveled. So I've hit most of the places that I wanted to travel. I think there might be a continent that I wasn't really interested in, but now I'm in the space that as I've done all this travel, where's a place that I can lean into to enjoy retirement life? As a woman in this menopause journey, I find like being in the United States, we're so focused on youth, and youth is good, but it is fleeting. It is not a lifetime. And we're celebrating, coming up on July 4th, our 250th birthday in the United States. We're literally babies in the world. When we travel, there are countries that have been around for hundreds and thousands of years. I was in Egypt several months ago, and they've been around for thousands of years. So it's not until you leave the United States and land in some of these other places do you realize how expansive the world is and how women of a certain age are revered and held in such high esteem. They have so much wisdom and knowledge. So in the podcast, I try to bring that forward. But there's also this option that, okay, if you're in the United States and you haven't traveled, lean into that. There's a community of women that are doing that. So Alise,
absolutely.
So Alise, tell a little bit about yourself. And I know also bring in your schedule because you're still working. You have a lot going on to get you here. We've been trying to do this for a long time, but it lets you know, ladies, you can have a full life and still lean into your dreams. So Alise, let me let you have it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That I would say for me, I am at that second stage of life, and I always say for women over 55, sometimes that you're at that mark where you're looking to do something different, especially if you're an empty nester. I am at that point now where my I have five kids. You know, they're adults, and I have over 20 grandchildren. Now, some people would say to me, now, honestly, people would say, oh, your house must be packed. It must be, you know, big Christmases and Thanksgivings. And honestly, it's not. It really isn't. And I think for me, with the large family, you know, I have children that are in different states. And that gives me the opportunity to travel, to go to different states to visit my family. I love it. I love it. But a little bit about me, I like Beverly shared, I do still have a job, which I work online. And which that is such a great advantage because for years I worked where I had to physically show up in a particular place to work. And sometimes I would travel, you know, an hour away, maybe 2 hours away to get to a job that when I came home, I was exhausted. I didn't have that tenacity to do much getting home because I was kind of like overexhausted from the travel to work all for 8 hours straight and then take a travel back home. So, you know, the more I started acknowledging that life was so short and how much time we spend at our workplace, I began to just ask God, please, God, bless me with something I could be home, a remote job. And trust me, trust you me, I was not the most tech savvy person, but God allowed me to have a job where I do work remote 100% now. And with this remote job, I'm able to go from state to state, but only in the United States. And with that, because I traveled, you know, in my earlier years and I did move for different job positions, I did live in North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, and Delaware. And now I'm currently living in New Jersey, which I am from New Jersey. So it gave me an option now that I have discovered these states as a empty nester and working as a remote position. I can sometimes say, you know what, I'm going to pack up my computer, my laptop with my monitors, and we're going to go to a different state just to stay somewhere or either visit my children. So with that, I found that I loved it. I loved being out and about. I was not a person that you can contain in one place for a very long time. I kind of like, that's when the expat life started to sink in. That's what they call it. I remember someone saying, you seem like a gypsy. You know, that was the whole saying. You know, you like to just, we see you one place and then the next thing we know, you're living over there. But not really understanding, like, yeah, I love doing that. I love to go places, but it was only for work's sake. And even with that, I still had to go into a job position and you know, work at a physical place and go home. So now that I have the remote job, I'm kind of like, the ability to do it is more flexible now to where I can keep my job and I can go to different states to visit and what they call the expat life. I can do it in the United States. So for me, that is my history of how it all began for me, how everything started, how I started to feel like I really want to see the world. Now, in the countries I've gone to, now, like Beverly, when she shared with me how she's been to Italy, and I mean, I was like, you really been there? And you know, because you see it on, you know, the TV or you look at it on YouTube and you imagine, like me, I would say one day I'm going to go out of country. I'm going to go and touch the land and it's not going to be a fleeting thing. And I have, you know, literally set myself up as in saying, you know what, get it started. Get it started. And I say that to any person that is saying, I want to live a life where I just don't see where my outdoor from my home is the only place existing,
Right.
because it truly isn't. It is so much more out there. So, I say, if that's your desire, do so. And it's not as hard as you might assume it would be.
Right, right.
Yep.
That is so inspiring. I am sitting here just shaking with like happiness and anticipation for those who may be hearing this, because I think some people think it's not possible. I know one of the big concerns that we have as we age is like, will we have enough money for retirement? And when we think of
Wow.
retirement, we're thinking from the perspective of the United States. Like, you got to have $4, $5, $6,000 to live a good life in the United States. Well, when you get to retirement age and your income is shrinking, and you look at what you're probably going to have in pension or Social Security, you're thinking, I'm just barely going to be able to get by. And that can be different for each individual. For me, when you go across the map of the United States, I've hit the major ones, maybe a couple in the mid part of the United States I have like no interest in, but I literally have driven across the United States from the East Coast to the West Coast a couple of times. I remember it took like 3 days. So I'm a traveling girl.
Okay.
My first international trip was to Canada when I was a little girl. My family all piled into the car, and my dad drove us to Canada. And I grew up from the Gulf Coast area, so that was quite a trip. But that was the first major trip that I had, and it just stuck with me because I remember seeing the landscape change. I remember the excitement of taking this trip. And there was a certain song that my dad used to play, and I'm a baby boomer, I'm in the 60s space, and he would play this song every time we would get on the road to take a road trip. We went to see family, Chicago, Texas. We traveled when I was a young girl, so I was bit by the bug early. But this one song that he played, I can't sing it, but it was like, hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more. So that song made me think, let's go.
Yes.
Now my song is really dating myself, is Smokey and the Bandit.
Okay.
There was this show, there's a movie where these truckers, this was Burt Reynolds, this was probably back in the late, maybe 80s or something like that, where they took a load of Coors, I think beer, from one part of the United States all the way up to, because I think from Texas all the way up to the coast of New England or something. And they were running 85, 95, 20 interstates. I remember all of these interstates because we drove them so much, so it really resonated. But the twist was they were running illegal beverages across county lines, state lines, and law enforcement was looking for them through each one of these states. So when I'm traveling, and I'm from the DC metro area, I go from Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and I think about this travel of these truckers running through these different states causing chaos. I'm not causing chaos.
Right.
I might be driving a little too fast, 80, 90, but I enjoy a great road trip.
Right.
So what's happened now is that as I've traveled all of these states, there's nowhere in the United States that really resonates enough that I really want, like, I want to stay here for the remainder of my retirement life.
Right.
I love the DC metro area. Whenever I leave and come back, I'm so grateful, but the traffic is a lot. The cost of living is a lot. Parking is always crazy. My car's been towed because I parked too long in the wrong spot, or I've ticketed for $100. I mean, all of that comes with city life. But as I look at my retirement, it's like, where do I want to offset that with something that's a little more balanced? So I've traveled I love Europe. Italy did that whole, all areas that you can think of that are fascinating for that location. But I kind of found that it didn't resonate as much with me. My mom is Catholic, so she was like all about me going there. And then when I
Right.
went, it didn't resonate as much because I'm not Catholic. So
Right.
I went to Paris shortly after graduating from school, from college, and I found it was very difficult to navigate Paris. But in my mind, it's like, oh, this is the place of love and light and all the history. So it was really hard not knowing French, which is ironic because my mom knows French. She went to school and was taught French, and our family on my mom's side is in Louisiana, so they're French. So it's
Right.
in my DNA. So the first time I went, it was like kind of hard because I didn't know French, and it was really awkward because they got this thing about French being rude. I've learned over time they're not rude. They just have a way that they are reserved.
Exactly.
And as America, we're super friendly. We want to talk to everybody. But then we feel like we've been pushed away, so they're rude. No, you'll find out as you travel, the United States wants to be the one that everybody looks to for some
Right.
guidance, but we're not the end all and be all when we're looking at the rest of the world that's thousands and thousands of years old. So anyway, I went the
Exactly.
first trip. It was nice, but it wasn't exactly what I expected. So I ended up going the second time, the third time, and by the fourth time I went, it's like I knew where I need to go. I knew the places that I like to hang out. And it was one of those things that really resonate because I was much older. In Paris, they have a slower life. I think in Europe in general, they have a slower lifestyle. They walk everywhere. They eat great foods. They're in museums. They're doing things of culture to have a good quality of life. And that's what I'm looking for at this stage of my life. So last year I was there and I stayed for 2 months.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just like, oh yeah, this is my expat place. This is the place I want to be. So it's a
Right.
process to live an expat life. So there's visas that's required. There's different requirements if you look for residency. So I'm just talking about a step at a time. Just start researching places that would resonate. I've been to Asia. I've been to Japan. I've been a lot of places. And each place has a specialness to it. But there's a place that's just going to call you and you're going to feel like you're home. I kind of felt like that when I was in Egypt and when I was in Ethiopia. But the lifestyle is not something I feel like I can sustain for a very
Right.
long period of time. It's nice to go and visit and I want to come back. Paris is a place, it calls for everything that's important for me as a health and wellness coach. Everything that resonates to me for a woman of a certain age. So when I joined the group that you and I were in, I wanted to understand what are the steps it's going to take to lean into all of the requirements to be an expat, because there's certain things that you have to know.
Well,
First
can
one-
I can
Yeah,
I
go
share
ahead.
something with you real
Yeah,
quick?
jump in.
I want to say to those who do have difficulty financially, like when we share about going abroad in regards of a different country, a lot of people may, and I think for me, I even was feeling, I can't afford to go abroad like that. I'm not able to pay for a plane ticket that will cost, so much money just to go visit, just to check it out. And it was really hard to navigate through that because I thought it was so foreign for me. But by me sharing about moving from state to state in the United States, it gave me that perspective that affordability is something that's out there for us as well. And what it did, I was able to research a lot of different things that I can do that was cost effective. Meaning, if I went to another state, say for instance, Virginia, I went to places that weren't too far out, just so I can get a taste of it. And I learned about Airbnb, Verbo. I learned how to research it. What can I rent? And how would I commute to these places that may not be as far out? Because, sometimes when we as women, we get kind of used to being in a certain area, especially if you've been raising children for most of your life. Because I started when I was 16 years old and I became, my youngest daughter is 21 and now I'm 58. So you're talking 42 years of raising children and more so thinking, okay, I got to pay for this, I got to pay for that. And of course, your dream is to go places. And I was fortunate, God blessed me, where I was able to go to another state due to an employer, this, that, and the other. But what it did was teach me that you can put your toe out there a little bit and touch the water a little bit, especially if you're afraid of, like Beverly shared about, how would I be able to afford it? What is cost effective for me? I would love to visit Italy. I would love to go to Egypt. But the foreign thing in my mind was, how could I afford it? So for all those ladies or people who are thinking about the expat life, try different places that's near you first, and look into those different things that could be cost effective, like Airbnb. Do a weekend and try just live your best life on a weekend, and then go back home and see the difference, because that's when I started recognizing that when it was time to go home, I kind of missed where I've traveled to, because I was like, oh, it was so peaceful out there. It was so beautiful. I got to see different sceneries. You got to explore outside of where you are. If you're afraid, and that's something that, especially if you're retired and your income has shrinked, try different places in the States, then touch yourself out a little bit into something that's, a different country, just so that you can get a little taste of what is it that I like about it, and explore while you're there. Don't make it into a vacation, I think. Make it as if this is a lifestyle. This is what I'm going to do when I do go to this place, but I'm going to still live. I'm going to be economically, conscious in regards of like getting an Airbnb. I'm going to go food shopping at their local food store and not eat out every night. Train yourself. I think that's the best option when you're looking to do, whatever it is in regards of expat life. Start with the United States and just go a little, because I've never been to California. I would love to visit California. Now I have this opportunity. Now I can do stuff like that. Like I said, with my remote job, I can only stay in the United States, but I never went to the West Coast. There are different things I would like to explore too. And that is expat life. And as well as going further out in the countries, because I'm telling you, Beverly don't know, I'm on her heels. I am on your heels because I want to see what you've seen. And I know that I got to slowly do it because of just coming into being an empty nester, and I didn't want to have people feel like, okay, when you say travel out the country, like that's the first thing you want to do. You want to taste and see first and see if it's for you. And think of your expenses. Is it worth me going to where I go? Do I have to eat out every day? Do I have to go to different things that they offer? What are the things that they offer that could be no cost and you can still enjoy it? So that's something I know for me that would work better in regards of stepping out, like you shared, wanting to do those things. You got to have that desire. And you also have to think in a way that, this is something I want to be comfortable with. I don't want to just go out and do it. And then you're like, oh God, I messed up. Yeah.
This is so fascinating because as we're having the conversation, what I'm understanding is that we have two spectrums. You're the person who's being introduced to travel and moving around the United States, and your job has given you the freedom to do that. And kudos for you. I think technology is one of those things that afford a lot of opportunities that I didn't have when I started traveling.
Right.
And so you're able to give a balanced perspective for somebody just getting ready to dip their toe in. And that's fantastic because sometimes when you travel as long as I've traveled, you forget that element. And then when you bring me into this picture with you, there's this other element where I'm a first class girl. If we ain't going first class, I can't go.
Right.
I spent my time dipping my toe in,
Right.
going in very economical ways. And
Hmm.
you have to understand what your budget is.
Right.
My budget is still not the same as it used to be. Girl, it was nothing for me to drop $7,000 on a ticket to go somewhere, first class. Y'all got my ticket. You got my luggage. You got, people waiting for me to escort me somewhere in my SUV. Like, yeah, that's the way I'm
Right.
used to traveling. But at
Yeah.
retirement, when that money come down a little bit, you have to think about how you gonna move. I'm still going first
Exactly.
class, but I might have to wait a little longer to be able to make sure my money is going to be available for me to go. I might not be able to go for 2 months at a time. That's why
Right.
expat life is important to me right now, because I'm going to go somewhere and just stay for a while and just live.
Hmm.
The other aspect of understanding your budget is, if you're looking at expat life out of the country, the cost of living in most places are so much less
Yeah.
than in the United States. You will not believe it. If you
Hmm.
have a Social Security benefit of $2,000, I
Hmm.
would say, honestly, you can live in so many places and it will cover your housing, your food, your transportation for an entire month. And what
Right.
I'd like for us to do is just have conversations around some of these locations. One of the things that Alise and I had in common was Thailand.
Oh, yeah.
Thailand. So we're going to talk about Thailand before we run out of time, because we don't want to keep you on long. We want to kind of make this be an
Hmm.
introduction. But
Right.
I had been bouncing around. I took a whole year off to travel, and my travel concluded in March of this year. So I was supposed to get a trip in to Thailand for the New Year's, at the end of the Christmas season into the New Year's. That was my goal. Life
Hmm.
happened, had to make a shift, and so I'm looking at it for 2026. So Lisa and
Hmm.
I, when we were in this group together, she was talking about Thailand, and I was just like pinging her, like, "Girl, let's talk about Thailand together, because I have to get to Thailand." And one of
Yeah.
the things about Thailand that keeps coming up over and over and over again is how many people of color
Hmm.
are finding home in Thailand and living a luxurious life, and
Exactly.
also finding it so economical. So let's talk about Thailand before we wrap this up. My girl, she ready to go. She ready for
Okay.
this international trip now.
Well, like I said, even for cost-effective people that are looking to do the abroad expat life, Thailand is reasonable. I had literally, because we were on this particular channel together, and I think they were filming from Thailand. The host was filming from Thailand, but it was also talking about Belize as well. But Thailand stood out because it was more so the way he was sharing about, oh, if you only knew that it is not as hard as you think it is. Now, I hear you. But what really caught my attention is one day I had YouTube on, because I've been doing my own research, because I hear what people say, and I'm doing my own research, and I'm listening, people saying, oh, Thailand is this beautiful place, and da 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 da. And I happen to see my nephew. I'm like, wait a minute, I know him. And I'm like, wait a second. And when he said his name, I said, that's my nephew. And I'm thinking, like, okay, now if I'm hearing him give all these props to Colin, now he was there. And part of his channel was he was sharing his where he lived at. He was sharing the neighborhood. He was sharing where they went food shopping at, the grocery store. And he also shared about, meeting other expats. And for him, I'm thinking, wait a minute, I know this is him because I haven't seen him since he was a kid. And I'm like, I know this is him. So I happened to call his mom and I said, wait a minute, wasn't your son on? She said, yes, he is in Thailand. I said, I just saw his YouTube. And that did it for me because I trusted him. I
Yeah.
trust what he was sharing was going to be valid information. I didn't think he was on there just to get, people to subscribe to him.
Right.
So
Right.
I called him and I asked him questions. And he shared with me how, yeah, it is very affordable. Now, mind you, he is ex-military. However, he said, I did come over and, I was able to use my military benefits, but he's retired military.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I don't know his income, but he shares that there was no need for him to get a job while he's there. It wasn't no need for him to get people to subscribe to his channel. He just wanted to share Thailand. That was it. And I said, you know what? I'm interested in going, and I've been researching and watching people's channels, but I wasn't too sure because you hear people say things, and then he said, "Oh, it's beautiful. It is very beautiful here." And I said, "Now, is the apartment renting? Is that this? Is it really 300, 400?" He said, "Absolutely, it is." And he even shared about how they do want you to stay for a year, but you can come for 3 months. You will have to get your passport and all of the different documents that they require. So you want to do that type of research as well, which I have done.
Yes.
Now, to make a long story short, because that was reputable information, and I believed it. And I said, okay, I'm going to Thailand. I'm going to Thailand. And what I did, and Beverly and I had spoken, and I said, I really would love to go. And she said, I really want to go too. And at one point in time, I went through a particular place to do my airline ticket and have them do. But I saw that if I did it, because like I shared, by you doing different stops in different places, you learn how to do it yourself. You don't have to go through a travel agency. And that's what happened. I did a travel agency, but everything I was trying to add on, they were getting paid for it too. So I asked my nephew, who is it that he used to go to fly? I went to the actual airport, not the airport itself, but I went to the airline site and I did my own ticket. I saw where they would have me stop at, where they would, I do a layover. I did all of that on my own because I did the experience already when I traveled within the United States. I even looked into, when you do the short-term rentals, they even have, I just mentioned it earlier. Airbnb. Yeah. Sorry about that. But the Airbnb, dirt cheap. I'm like, is this for real? For a whole 2 weeks? But you can get Airbnbs there. They do connect back with you. If you reach out to those particular places, the Airbnb, they will call you back, and you got to have the WhatsApp. The WhatsApp app, you got to have that because you can actually talk to the actual person in that particular country. So I was able to speak with them, and this is what, while I'm sitting here, and my trip will be in November. I have 2 weeks that I will be in Thailand. I even set up to go see the doctor. I want to do lab work. I want to have them do a full check on me to make sure, because the cost of what I do here, it's like I have insurance, but outside the insurance, I still have payments. But they're so reasonable. And by research, I've learned how you can go visit their clinics. They do full blood work with you. They give you your results then and there. I just want to be able to hear where do I stand without having to say my, the cost of what I got done has made my blood pressure go up even higher. So I set up, I have someone who calls me, a concierge, because I was looking into the medical, and because I sent out I would like to know, how does your clinic work? Someone called me back, and her name is Melina, and we've been talking. Literally, she sent me information about the clinics on is she set up for me to even go to the doctor. And when I get there, I'll have a free consultation. They'll go through the prices with me. I didn't obligate myself to anything, but I did obligate to get consultation. And I said, when I'm there, I can discuss whether I want to continue with blood work, whatever it may be done, labs, whatever it may be done at that time. And it's no pressure. Oh my gosh. So that sold me right there. That sold me. And I don't know. All I can say is I'm going to be there for 2 weeks. And Beverly, we might be going together next year again, but I know I'm going to go back. But I just wanted, like I said, it's always good to taste and see. Taste and see. Don't jump into anything without getting research done. Don't automatically sell everything and then say, I'm going, because you may not like it. That may not be the place for you. But I would suggest take a good 2 weeks, because it may be a lot of things. And while I'm there, I'm going to Vietnam. And my nephew is going to meet me when I get there. And he's going to take me to Vietnam as well. So you just never know how things are turned if you just step out of the water. Just step out and try and see how this would work for you. And I'm excited. In November, I'll be heading out and I'm going to do some videos, and I'm going to put, have it to where to share with others that it is possible. So don't feel like, I can't do it. I don't have the money. And because if there's a will, there is a way. And if you pray about it, God can open up doors that you'll be like, whoa, how did that happen? And financially, it's not as expensive as you might believe it would be.
Yes.
So,
you can hear how excited Alise is about her first international trip, ladies. She did her homework. She has been diligent about it, and she has definitely had a process. I'm going to tell you, when I went my first trip, it was so uneventful because life has changed. When I started traveling, we didn't have the capability of doing our own trips. You had to go through a travel agency. So they would have these beautiful little packets, and I would roam through the little packets. I'm like, oh, well, I like this. And you sit down with them and they'd let you know what kind of flights were available. They would coordinate hotels and everything. So it was just a matter of paying the money, and then they did everything for you. All of your connections, all of your transportation, like you didn't have to think. Now with the way technology is, it can feel a little overwhelming because you have to understand international travel. You have to understand when you do the connections, the time is going to change. The time zones can be many, many hours, 12 hours ahead. Like you have to know these things. But if you do your research and do everything that Alise has shared, you will come out on the end with a ticket and you will be going to an amazing destinations. There's a couple more things I'm going to share, and then we're going to close out, and you have to come back and see us with the next episode because we're going to keep building on this conversation, because I feel like for women in our stage of life, we're postmenopausal for myself, at least maybe close by. She's so young looking. But just understanding that there's a space where you can come and be in community with women of a certain age who are doing phenomenal things and who are living their dream lives. So when you talked about the medical, this is usually a big concern for women in our stage of life. We spend so much of our lives in the doctor's office, going to the pharmacy, getting prescription, follow-up appointments, and I'm just like not in for that. I'm not. I'd rather just live a healthy life, go and see a functional practitioner, somebody who understands my body as a whole, and then I can work on those things. Not that I'm going to give a cookie cutter prescription that's the same for a man that doesn't even look like me. Like that's a wrap. But that's the thing about going internationally. Unfortunately, there's a lot of the United States perspective on foreign medical care that is absolutely false. You can get some of the best medical care in Southeast Asia, in other parts of the world, and it's a fraction of the cost.
Yep.
So be open to understanding there's a narrative that we have here in this country, and it's all about keeping that money in this capitalistic society.
Yep.
And if you take your money outside of the society, it's not going to be to their advantage. So, of course, they're not going to say too many good things about things abroad when it comes to your medical, because we have a machine here. But you can go overseas and have a full body panel, head to toe, top technology scans and reports for a couple $100.
Yep.
And one of the advantages of going to Thailand that I'm so interested in is like you can hop around to different locations. You can go to Vietnam, you can go to Cambodia, you can go to Malaysia. There's just so much once you get over there.
Yeah.
So just be open to hearing about our journey. Think about what it is that's calling you, whether it's domestic travel to get your toe wet or whether you're ready to just leap into international travel. My first real trip was out of the country, but I had somebody who was driving me with my family, but now the world is open and we can do these things. I'm like, I see kids traveling around the world.
Oh, yeah.
Kids.
Yeah.
They have their little laptop and they working from anywhere. WFA, work from anywhere.
Yeah.
So this is our lives. You don't get a do-over. Lean into this most amazing time of your life. So we'll be back with another episode. Let us know your comments, your thoughts, things you want us to address. Alise, you were amazing. I'm so excited for your journey. And you're just so inspiring for me, especially as a person who's never done international travel. You did all of the research. You got your ticket. I don't even have my tickets yet, ladies. Because I'm trying to decide if it's going to be 2 months or 6 months. I got a lot of things to work out. Because if you go overseas, one of the things I'm going to tell you, go for at least 2 weeks minimally. Because it's going to be jet lag that you got to deal with once you go over there.
Right.
Hit the ground, most likely you're going to be sleeping because of the difference in time zone. And you want to be refreshed and you want to go out and enjoy yourself. So thinking you're going to run over there on a week trip,
Right.
it's not going to be a good trip. So just keep that in mind. When you go out of the country, time change. There's this understanding that you're in a different country, different language, different things that you got to acclimate to. But stay with us. We're going to take you on that journey. One of the things I like to bring in is like what costs look like to go to some of these places. So
Absolutely.
I have loved this, Alise. So I'm going to let you close out with any final words. And we are going to keep showing up here. I'm so excited for your journey. And for those of you who are watching and we pick something that you think, oh, I got to lead into expat life.
Expat life, I'm telling you, is not for the faint. It is something that I believe God gave us a privilege to have. And I always believed that God created this big, gigantic world, not for us just to see what's in front of us. He would love, I'm just a believer, like, there is no way that I think this whole world is has been created that we should not enjoy it. At least a half of it, get out, explore, see what you've been missing. And I guarantee you, and I truly believe, Beverly, health, if you do stuff like that, healthy, your mindset will change, all the stress will dissipate. I believe that you will feel so much joy because once you start to enjoy life more and do things, that brings about a whole new you. So I'm excited. I am ready for it. And, I would love to share the journey step by step. And for those who struggles with it, hey, like I shared, just do a little taste, just see. But I guarantee you, once you do that, you're going to want to see more.
Yes.
All right. That's all I have.
That was so beautiful. I'm looking at your background. It is so stunning. It reminds me of some of the places that I've traveled. You want to be able to see some of those places up close and personal. And one of the things that I would tell you about travel, especially international travel, it will change you. You will become so expansive. Here in the United States, we see the world in this little circle. When you start traveling outside of the United States, the world gets bigger.
It does.
You realize there's so much more to see and do
Exactly.
and learn, and you as an individual will grow. So ladies, it's been a pleasure to have you here. This is our first episode talking about expat life. We plan to come here on a consistent basis and bring you into the journey, and I encourage you to show up, share it with other women. If you have any questions or concerns, leave it for us, and Alise and I will do our best to reach out to you with any questions that we might be able to address for you directly. We hope to see you next time. Thanks for being here, ladies.
Thank you.
Welcome to the sexy side of menopause.